If you played a game that touted itself to be a blend between Overwatch, Arcane, and League of Legends, what would you expect? A AAA gaming experience with amazing graphics, unique heroes with innovative abilities? Well, that's what comes to mind for me, but one game studio seems to have missed the mark. Welcome back to another episode of What's New Wednesday. It is October the 30th, and we'll be talking about everything that's happened in the world of crypto and blockchain gaming between October the 23rd and October the 30th. What are we talking about this week? Bitcoin has touched all-time highs this week, but hasn't been able to print a new all-time high yet. Will we break above previous highs and move higher, or are we headed back down? Highly anticipated blockchain game Farcana, who touts themselves to be the most ambitious Web3 gaming project of all time, is a hero shooter similar to Overwatch, but has come under fire in the past few days as it made a public announcement and an update with language that seems despairingly out of touch with reality. Is this game what it claims to be? On the open loot front, open loot reward point leaderboard is over, so we will briefly catch people up to date on that. And big time, their Halloween crafting event is in their final leg. The final list of crafting items is available to craft. Are you one of the top 100 people in the leaderboard in the running to win OLRP and big time? We will be talking about that, going over what to expect in the coming week. First topic, crypto. Last week we talked about how Bitcoin was likely going to pump to all-time highs. It did just that. The price so far has literally touched previous all-time high. If we look here, right, last all-time high was 73,820. This one was 73,641. But does it have enough momentum to keep going and break above this? Well, we'll see. This article was by Daily Coin, kind of talks about what it thinks is going to happen. It talks about how last bull cycle there were plenty of $100,000 Bitcoin price predictions, but they never came to fruition. The article says that this time might be different though, and that we could see $100,000 Bitcoin by January 2025. Their reasoning is actually pretty good reasoning here. They say that 13 out of 15 times whenever the asset has hit a 6-month high, as it has recently done by reaching above 63K, according to the 10x research, after hitting 6-month highs, the asset has historically followed up with a median gain of 40% over the next 3 months. We just hit an all-time high. In the next 3 months, we should see a 40% gain in theory. This has happened 90% of the time. So pretty good odds that we will see Bitcoin rise to the challenge by January. But what does this mean in the short term? Are we going to go straight to the moon? Not likely. The past few weeks, I have talked a bit about sine wave theory. So let's take a look at the chart. And we talked about how it seemed like there was a new Elliott wave, new sine wave that started in September, beginning of September. We got 1, 2, 3, 4, and then 5, which means that this pump is likely the last pump of this Elliott wave. And what happens after an Elliott wave is completed? Typically, we'll see some sort of correction and downward movement. So if this is the final wave in the pattern, then are we going to break above all-time highs like this next week? Maybe not. We might retrace back down to 70K. We might retrace all the way back down to 66K. We might even retrace all the way down to 60K. It's possible. Before we start a new Elliott wave pattern that will be taking us to 100K by January. So what would that look like? I don't know. We could draw like a really bad example of it, right? We could say maybe we're gonna do something like this and then like that and then go like this, and we'll start 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 up to 100K this way. It's possible. It could happen. Yeah, I guess that's kind of my opinion. I don't think that we're gonna really push too much higher right now, but I do think we have a good chance to start a new Elliott wave once this upcoming correction happens that will take us to 100K. Who knows? Maybe I'm wrong. Maybe we're just going to go straight to the moon. What do you guys think? Is it Bitcoin to the moon or what? One final caveat to all of this is with the US elections nearing its final stages, there could be a situation of buy the rumor, sell the news here. So the US election is coming to its end like in about a week or so. Will there be a peaceful transfer of power? Who knows what's what's going to happen, who's going to get elected, all these sort of things. Buy the rumor, sell the news. We could see serious correction because of that on its own. So who knows? I'd be keeping an eye on that news just to see. Maybe it would be a good time to throw in a short. I might do that if I was feeling adventurous. All right, next topic. The blockchain gaming space is ripe with projects all touting themselves to be the next big thing. The pioneers in the space, the most bestest of the bestest. 90% of those projects are far from that reality, and it just makes the whole space kind of look bad. Farcana has been one of those projects. They've been in development for a couple years now and have just launched a limited playtest event that has gamers reeling. So if you look on their website here, you see between 25th and 31st of October, you can download their playtest and play, and they're not reeling in a good way. We got some pretty negative feedback, so we're going to take a look at that. I haven't had a chance to play the game yet myself, but several respectable people in the space have given it a go, so we will go over that in a second. First, we need to read through Farcana's post they made a couple days ago that has caused all of this backlash. My initial thoughts are that if Farcana used messaging that was more honest about where the game was at this point, then perhaps they wouldn't have gotten so much pushback, but it kind of seems like marketing team is out of touch with the community and the actual state of where the game is. But I digress. Let's just look at the original post and then let's check out what some of the content creators are saying. A pretty long post, but Farcana is the most ambitious Web3 gaming project of all time, and we are undergoing a major overhaul. Here's what is changing. Honestly, the past year has been a roller coaster, and as we reflect on the journey of 2024, we can say that we have taken innumerable lessons and insight to heart. We've seen what works and what doesn't, and if one thing that hasn't changed in us is our drive to build the most epic shooter the space has ever seen. Farcana is that game. So they're very, very full of themselves. They're patting themselves on the back. Farcana will not only redefine gaming, but will also incorporate cutting-edge technologies like, insert buzzword here, AI, real-world assets, and decentralization. Our goal is not only to address the pain points often encountered in traditional Web 2 gaming, but to ensure a seamless and okay, so this is just general jargon. The vision for the future. Our vision is often stated by our haters. That's not really a great way to communicate to the public. Is quite ambitious. A AAA shooter game. Okay, so what is a AAA shooter game? We'll get into that a little bit. What others say is ambitious is actually already achieved by us. Our playtests are a testament to this. So I don't think that's accurate, because based on the feedback I've seen from the playtests, it's pretty not good. We are determined to create a game that elevates the entire gaming landscape. So it's just like a lot of really generic, we're the best rhetoric kind of stuff. This year hasn't just been about successes, it's also been about learning from those who didn't have our best interests at heart. What? Learning from those who didn't have our best interests at heart? What does that mean? That seems kind of like passive aggressive. We've faced setback after setback, but each challenge has made us hungrier and more determined. So this is basically just a way to avoid taking responsibility. It's often said, what doesn't kill you makes you stronger. You will witness this firsthand with our team here at Farcana. We have just one goal: to create a groundbreaking AAA shooter that redefines what gaming can be. Here's to a future where gaming reaches new heights. Okay, so seems like they're really patting themselves on the back here. They're kind of avoiding taking responsibility for things while also saying that they're like master navigators of the space. They're pioneers, right? Is this accurate? Does this accurately sort of convey where the game is, where the community is, who's thinking what, right? So let's see. First, let's take a look at what Grail.eth has to say. On the comment, he says, nice troll post indeed. Lots of superlatives. Not one of them is true. Scammy team, even shittier game. Even JC couldn't resurrect this project from the dead. This post by the Farcana team reflecting on their 2024 success is pure comedy. The team had to be writing this to troll the space. Here's Grail's lesson to you, Farcana team. Trying to build an actual real game and pump and dump fake projects by reskinning the Unreal Engine Lyra templates, calling this trash a AAA game on your marketing team spam, then dropping a token to cash the fuck out. So like, this doesn't really make sense to me, but who knows, whatever. The game was never the product, the token was. I can agree with that probably, and even the token was some kind of shit. You guys can teach the masterclass of how to dump your chart down from 18 cents to 0.007 cents, which is close to a 30x reverse pump from peak to current. You guys are certainly definitely the experts there. Even Rugs have better chart than this, which tells me the only work you guys were putting in was dumping that treasury onto the markets. My greatest hope is that 2025 will be the year of real Web3 gaming products that we can, as a space, all be proud of. Okay, so that's a pretty scathing review. I think there's some things that I agree with. Like if you look at this chart, most PGEs, most of the time you get a token that comes out, you know, it starts from the bottom and goes up because people are buying it, and then there's this hype cycle, and then there's people who sell the top and things like that, right? And then you get like a little bit of an equilibrium and the token will sort of balance out a bit. But the price on this starts at the top, starts at like almost 20 cents here, 18 cents. And to me, what that means is that a lot of people were holding this token before it was even listed on exchanges. And who were those people? Were they VCs? Were they players? Was it an airdrops? I don't know. But it seems like a lot of people were holding this token and they just dumped on the market like over the span of 6 months, mainly just 4 months here. So why did that happen? Clearly the way that they did their token generation event, the way that they launched their token was not a good thing for the token nor the community. That's what it seems like to me. Let's talk about gameplay. Inhuman is a ex-pro FPS and BR player. They're a really talented gamer. They are a Twitch partner and they're partnered with Zy Games. They say, when I play tested Farcana, it was one of the worst hero shooters I've ever played. Nothing was working correctly at all. Please be honest and realistic. It will benefit you in the long run much better than this false marketing and hype. And I'd agree with that. It seems like this game isn't even really playable and they're touting themselves as making huge strides, etc., and it doesn't really seem like that. It seems kind of like the Farcana team is gaslighting their community in this original post. Andy Slaps made a huge response about the game. So he said that basically the IP felt very close to Overwatch and had similar abilities. There wasn't really anything unique. He said the game was pretty buggy, but since it was an alpha and a beta, it's not a deal breaker to him. He defended the fact that they might be a AAA game because he's basically saying that a AAA game is just a game that has a crap ton of money, and maybe they do. So maybe they are technically a AAA game, but maybe they're not. Talks about the token price down 96%, not a good sign. The tokenomics seem to be a little bit buggy. He talks about how a lot of content creators were getting paid out and they were like shouting out this game, talking about how amazing it is, and in fact it really isn't. So like he's like, if you are gonna get paid by them, at least try and be honest. I agree with that. But what he's talking about mainly here is, in my opinion, they don't deserve to be bashed horribly. However, they do not deserve any praise thus far either. They deserve actionable criticism they can act on. They should not pat themselves on the back nor keep promising the stars. If they want any type of success, they need to be honest with everybody and put together an actual actionable plan instead of using buzzwords like AI, revolutionary, and the most ambitious AAA title, etc. This is kind of the take I agree with the most. It seems like they just aren't really in touch with the reality of their situation, and if they are, they're not communicating it. They're communicating kind of the opposite. They're basically gaslighting people, and that's not cool. Effectively, we just need to do better. So they have this link. You can go to their website. You can check out their white paper. The first thing you actually get is they force you to put your email in, which I found that was quite sketchy. And then you get this. This is a pitch deck. This is not a white paper at all. And the first like 20 pages is essentially just fluff, like something that I would have made in university. Nothing special, a bunch of just basic buzzwords, nothing special. They talk about some tournament systems, and then they slowly start to talk about the token. Okay, so this is when you finally get a little bit of information about the token. It's got a 5 billion market cap, and then they talk about this weird thing. Like, they don't really give you any information about tokenomics. They don't give you any information about how the token is distributed, but they do say something like they have this 30% buyback thing. So if you buy something in game, then they'll buy some tokens or something. It's not very in depth. You don't really get a very good idea about how the tokenomics work. You just generally get this idea that there's some sort of buyback system, and that's supposed to just make everything better, but it's not. They also say that the assets are pegged to the token's real value. So like say an asset costs $10 and the token is worth 10 cents, then you know that's like 1,000 tokens or whatever. But if it's 0.007 cents, then that's a really large amount of tokens. They don't really give you any information about the tokenomics, honestly. They just talk a little bit about how the tokens are used, and they give this little basic part, and then they're like, look, Bitcoin, there's nothing there. And then they talk about the core team. So this is like a huge red flag for me. If I go and look for a white paper and I see this isn't even a light paper, let alone a white paper. It's just a pitch deck. It's something that you would give to VCs, try and find investors and things like that, which also begs the question, what happened with this token? Were they compensating VCs and stuff with tokens? Probably, just based on the way the tokenomics looks. So that doesn't look good to me. Will they survive this? I don't know. If you guys have played this game, maybe you have a different opinion, but for me, just seeing that white paper alone would have been like a huge red flag. No, thank you. But what do you guys think? Are you invested in this game? Have you played this game? Does this game have potential? Is it a diamond in the rough, or is it actually Farcana, like Grail says? You guys let me know in the comments. I'm curious to know what you guys think about this game, but so far it doesn't look so good. Moving on, OpenLoot has done a OpenLoot reward points leaderboard. This is one way that people have been able to earn themselves some OpenLoot reward point, and in the long run, OpenLoot tokens. There was 500 total winners. The idea is that in big time, you spend big time tokens to open OpenLoot reward point chests. Depending on the chest, you get a certain amount of points, and whoever has the most points gets the most prizes. Pretty straightforward. But on October the 25th, they announced a 50% discount on all OLRP chests. And this is really shook up the event. This is when I was totally bumped out of the top 500 and I couldn't keep up. I opened dozens and dozens and dozens of chests, but I just didn't have enough big time tokens on hand to compete. Womp womp. Oh well. I still got a discount on all my OLRP that I got during this little weekend event, and that definitely helped out a bit. But let's look at the top winners here for the OLRP leaderboard. OG8, Dadai, Crypto Jimmy, Dow 00, Beat 66, GGG's, Zio, DJYY, Black Knights Rose, Rito, and Lucky Ron, and Lance Spoter. So I'm not really seeing any familiar names up there. Some of them seem a little bit sus, but you got the big time tokens and you're opening the chest. It is what it is. But congrats to all the winners. On the topic of OpenLoot token, it seems like there's more and more announcements coming out about the OpenLoot token. We get things like this. OpenLoot VIP status isn't just for show, right? Exciting OLTGE news. It's really making me feel like the OpenLoot token is going to be live on exchanges soon. Maybe Q1 2025 would be my guess. I hope. But while we're on the topic of leaderboards, we will talk about Clockwork Harvest is the Halloween leaderboard that started a few weeks ago, and it's just coming up on its final legs. That's just about to be finished. Final week. The event ends November the 6th, and people who have both the legendary shield and the legendary pumpkin head are now able to enter special portals in order to craft these special axes. Someone just crafted the first legendary axe here. It's a one-handed axe, looks pretty cool. There's also a mythic one, so we'll see who gets to craft that. You don't need to craft the shield, the helmet, the axe in order to qualify on this leaderboard though. You can craft decorations, you can craft capes. You don't need to craft those bigger items, but obviously if you want to be really high on the leaderboard in the top 10 and stuff like that, you'd have to be crafting all of them. It's a really tight leaderboard compared to the OLRP leaderboard. There really is only 100 spot, right? And if I search my name right now, I'm at 158. Can I make it into the top 100? I'm not so sure. Yeah, there's only 100 spots for the big time Halloween leaderboard, guys. So if you are crafting, make sure you get those crafts in and out the door. You have to make sure that they are completed before the end of the leaderboard. And that is all for this week's episode of What's New Wednesday, everybody. If you guys are watching this in the future, be sure to like, make sure you follow, make sure you subscribe, leave a comment, and as always, don't forget to tell somebody about it, and I will see you guys next week. Peace.